Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender at Blender HD. If you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Thursday, March 16th. It's the start of March Madness. Are you all mad? Are you mad? Are you angry? Are you angry about college basketball? That starts today, right? It's an NCAA tournament. That starts today, right? You got your brackets? You got your brackets all set up and everything like that? I got one bracket. It's for the Onyx DraftKings, whatever. It's like some free roll, something or other. I filled it out. I did what I normally do. I filled out the most probable outcomes. So I just took the top seeds the entire way through until the end, and then I just randomly chose the one seed versus another one seed, and then the winner, and then the tiebreaker score of something or whatever. That's it. Done. The way the payout thing works, it's like just give me some money. I don't even know what first place is. I know that typically half the entries they don't fill out a bracket, right? So the people forget. They don't check their free roll, Onyx, VAP, whatever the hell. So I'm just okay. Just give me all the one seeds, right? Especially the way that March Madness brackets are typically scored, right? You don't get many points in the beginning. You get a lot of points at the end, right? So okay, I did this 14 seed beats the 3 seed. You get like 10 points, but like if they don't get it, if you don't have them like getting all the way to the Final Four, it's like how many points are you really getting? It's most likely that the better teams are going to go on to those spots. So I just fill it out just like that, and just okay, give me. I probably won't win first, right? Out of I think it's like 200 people or something. I saw 200, 300 entries. Just give me some money. Just give me. I don't care. I'm not following it. I don't care about it. So just give me the money. So that's typically how you beat March Madness pools, especially the small ones. If you're in your office, there's 10 people. We're going to put together a March Madness bracket or whatever. Just take all the favorites. Just take us. You look at someone's bracket. It's like, they got a 10 over a 7. They got this 2 seed losing in the third round or whatever. It's like, dude, you're going to miss out on point unless you're perfect. Like most likely, I'm gonna get some 1 seeds, 2 seeds all the way to the end, racking up 80 or 160 points. And it doesn't matter whether or not you got those first round upsets for 10 or 20 points. So there you go. There's the March Madness strategy if you wanted it, right? For the smaller stuff. For the large stuff, just close your eyes. Close your eyes and pick whatever you want. Daniel Hutchins says he got the same bracket. Okay, so we're duped. You duped me. I don't know what 1 seeds you picked. I think I have Purdue versus Kansas in the final, with Purdue winning, even though everyone tells me that everyone I see on Twitter that Purdue was good in the beginning of the season and they kind of fell off, but they're still ranked number 1 or whatever. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't cost me anything. It's infinite EV. Doesn't matter. I have no money on the line. It doesn't matter. What are we talking about today? We're still going on with the this kind of little 3-part series on the basics of sports betting. Of real sports betting, not like I think this team's gonna win tonight, right? Which is not what sports betting's about, really. Unless you have a time machine, that's not what it's about. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Give me those thumbs up, thummy thumbs. Give me the thummy thumbs. Helps us out here. What does us here early? Daniel Hutchings here. DFIC, Kickstart, MJC, Bart B. Good morning. Good morning. Watched the past 2 shows because I've gotten questions about sports betting stuff. People have emailed in. It's like, I know this is not about DFS, but can you explain some of the sports betting stuff? I'm trying to transition a little bit more out of DFS, or sports betting just became legal in Massachusetts, and I want to make sure that I'm at least betting profitably, right? Plus EV in a plus EV way. Can you go over some of the basic mathematical concepts? And that's what we did. Like you have to understand how sports books and markets operate. That's one of the most important things to know, because in order to beat the books, you have to know how they work, right? How lines are made and how lines move. What a money line mean? The simple stuff. What does a money line mean? Some people go in and don't even understand that. We went past there. We assume that you know what a money line is. We know what a spread is. We know what over under, those types of terms. But generally, like what is the goal? What is your goal? Your goal is to get just like with anything with expected value, Your goal is to get a better payout than the actual probability of the event happening, right? So if the probability of whatever you're betting on, the true probability is 2 to 1, and you're getting paid 3 to 1, even though it'll only happen 33% of the time, you're getting paid as if it only happens 25% of the time. And that money in between, that's your expected value. Over time, you're going to be making more money because you're getting paid higher than the true odds of the event happening. But how do you determine what the true odds are? Well, there are two approaches. There's the bottom up and the top down approach. Bottom up is when you're originating. You're using a model. And of course, a model isn't like the R squared isn't 1, right? You're still estimating there, but you're estimating it better than the market. And the other way is by going by the market, the top-down approach. And that goes with the efficient market hypothesis, that all the information, the closer and closer you get to the close, right, to the game starting, and the more and more liquidity there is, the more and more bettors there are, that the market, whatever the line is at close, is closest to the true probability. So you want to beat that, right? So if we say that line open with a team at minus 180, and now it closed at minus 220, we're going to say that because of all the action that came in and the books trying to combat adverse selection, that minus 220 is the true probability. It would be no vig minus 220. We'll get to that. So it's like, can we beat that? And that's your goal. That's what closing line value is. Okay? So when you hear CLV, closing line value, that's from a heuristic standpoint. That is your goal when you bet on sports. Search for supers. Any video that specifically goes in depth on how to hand build based on projections. I mean, that would be like any DFS video. I would suggest you email in your questions, questions at theoryofdfs.com. If you have any DFS strategy questions, you always email them. I cover everything on this show in an unstructured way. I don't mind going over things again and again. But there's no difference between hand building a lineup and there's no... You might as well just take any video that specifically goes in depth on how to build lineups based on projections. Like it's like saying, is there any videos on how to play DFS? Right? That's essentially what you're asking. So like it's very vague. The closing line value, that's the goal. So we go back to our little worksheet from yesterday. So yesterday we had this example line. There's a line out there, and maybe it's an MMA fight, right? I'll be covering the UFC slate tomorrow. From a DFS perspective, not a betting perspective. Minus 230 plus 190. That's what one book has it, right? Minus 230 plus 190. What's the implied probability of minus 230? 69.7%. Plus 190 is 34.48%. Combined, it's 104.18%, which means this 4.18, that's the hold on the market for that sports book. When you take out the VIG, when you take out the hold, the no VIG money line is minus 202 plus 202. Okay, so that's what it's currently at. We'll use it as an example. This is what it's currently at. Let's say by Saturday at 1 o'clock, whenever the fight starts or the card starts, the line has moved dramatically now. I mean, I'm using an exaggerated example just to show you, but it's now minus 350 for the favorite, plus 290. Okay, so we could use a converter, right? What does minus 350 equal? 77.78% implied probability, right? So we're going to put that in. 78% implied probability plus 290. What is that? 290 is 25.64 implied probability, right? Which makes the hold on this market for this sports book, just to show you an example, 77.78 plus 25.64, 103.42. Right, so that's the total. Right, so you can see that a little bit less hold, but around this is normal. Okay, once we take out the VIG, right, rate minus 350 plus 290, it really is minus 303 plus 303. So we'll put that in. Minus 303 plus 303, which equals the no VIG probability, 75.21, 5.21, and that's going to be what, 24 or something or other, 24.79, which makes the hold 0, right? 100% total probability. Okay, so let's say early in the week, let's say currently or whatever, you bet $100 or whatever, you bet whatever it is on minus 230 on this book. Now the line when it closes is minus 350. The line has moved in your favor, meaning you bet someone. You go, oh, I think the spider wins more than 70% of the time, so I'm gonna bet minus 230 for $100 or whatever it is. The market on this book, I close, now says it's minus 350. So the difference between 69.7% and 77.78% is your positive closing line value. Right? So you've gained 8.18% implied probability closing line value on this book. On this book. Now, do you judge closing line value specifically on the book that you're playing? No, we talked yesterday about synthetic hold of the entire market. Let's say the best price available was minus 370, right? Or the best price available is still bet on it. Like on your book, on the book that you bet minus 230, it's now up to minus 350. But there are books out there that have it at minus 300 plus 250 or something like that. Right? So the synthetic hold of the market, because maybe your book plus 290 is the best line on the underdog. Minus 300, some place has minus 300. You can still bet on the favorite at minus 300. So this is the true market, not just the book that you placed the bet on. So if the line moves in your favor on your book, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting closing line value on the market. Because maybe the market right now synthetically is minus 300, which would be 75%. I mean, that's an easy one. Plus 290 is 25.64%, which would make the hold very small. Right? The hold would be very small. Synthetic hold would be very little. So in actuality, you bet at minus 230, right? And the market, right, synthetically, is at minus 300, 75%. But this also includes the hold. So you'd have to take out the hold in this. So minus 300 plus 290 would really be minus 292.5. Minus 292.5. That would be what it is. True probability, 74.52%. 74.52%. So if you're calculating your closing line value, it would be, you got it at minus 230, 69.7% probability. It closed no VIG for the synthetic market at minus 292.5, which is 74.52%. So basically the difference between these two numbers, 74.52% and 69.7%, would be your closing line value. Okay, so a lot of people learn about closing line value. What they'll do is that this is something that'll happen, right? They'll bet minus 230 on, they'll bet whatever. Same situation. And their book, right? The line will move to like something like, plus 210, right? It'll close like this at minus 250. And they'll go, look, I got closing line value. Look on my book, it moved. It moved. I got 20 cents, right? 20-cent movement, something like that. Oh, this must have been a good bet. Now, heuristically, it still could be. How much closing line value is this? Okay, let's go through it. Minus 250 on this book itself, specifically. Right? If we go through here and go minus 250 plus 210, if we take out the hold, right? We're talking about minus 221.43. Minus 221.43. If you use just your book as the market, 221.43 is 68.89% implied probability. 8.89%. You getting any closing line value? You bet it at 69.7%. If you consider your own book to be the whole market, you still, once you consider the hold, it's only 68.89%. It's actually net. You still have not beat the closing line from a true probability stance. If you view your book as the arbiter of what the true market is, like, you're still not beating it. Once you take out the VIG, once you take out the hold. But let's say the market as a whole, like, yeah, your book, minus 250. So it's like, oh, I got closing line value, and you're shouting from the rafters, I got CLV, I'm a good bettor, right? Maybe one of the best prices in the market. Maybe minus 250 isn't even the best price in the market. Maybe you could actually find a minus 220 somewhere. So did you beat the closing line? Actually, no. Yeah, on your book it moved, right? And a lot of maybe some retail books it moved, but at some sharp offshore book, maybe it's at minus 225 currently, right? And then, but you could get plus 210 somewhere else, right? So synthetically, the market looks more like this: minus 225 plus 210. You take out the hold here, right? Minus 225 plus 210, minus 225 plus 210. No big odds of that market is minus 214.62. Right? Minus 214.62, which would be implied probability. Where am I going? Of 68.22. Just still underneath at 69.7, which is what you bet at. So you did not beat the closing line. You didn't. Doesn't matter what your book. Okay, right. You're right. You bet on DraftKings at minus 230, and now it's at minus 250. Also have to realize that DraftKings has a higher hold. A lot of U.S. retail books have higher holds, which means once you take out that hold, you didn't get a true probability of minus 230. You were really betting no VIG minus 202. So you need to beat no VIG minus 202. If obviously this is all based around the efficient market hypothesis, that the closing lines are the most efficient. If we tracked it, and of course, if you track it over a long, big, large sample size and in liquid markets for most sports, like, you beat the closing line, you make money. That's the number one heuristic when it comes to being a profitable sports bettor. But people have this selective bias on what they choose the closing line to be, right? That's the point that I'm bringing up here. That just because you bet, you bet a prop or something, right? Right? It's like, oh, I bet a basketball whatever prop, right? Points prop. 22.5 over, right? Oh, and now it went to 23.5 on my book. So I got 1 point. I got an extra point I got CLV. Yeah, but what does the rest of the market look like? Maybe the rest of the market doesn't have it that way. Your book moved 1 point, but most of the market hasn't. Your book has the best line for the over, but not the best line for the under. You go under 220, 22.5, and then you have to price out how much 1 point is worth. Then you have to take out the hold. And let's say you bet over 22.5 at minus 135, right? Because you'll see this with props, right? Props, you'll see like, over 20, you'll see a line like this, right? Over 22.5, right? Under 22.5, whatever the line is, right? Over, under. I don't want to undo. Thank you. You won't see like minus 110, something like you won't see these types of lines. You may see minus 135 plus 120 or something like that. Right? And then the line moves. Right? The spread moves, the number moves. So you get over 23.5, under 23.5. This will be, this will be minus 110. This will be plus 100. Yeah, but it's a different number, right? It's still 1 extra point. So you may see the market, like the best price, like maybe no one has 23.5 as a number. Everyone else has 22.5 as a number, right? And then you take a look at the overall market. What's the best price you could get at under and over 22.5? Maybe. Oops, where am I going? Hold on. There you go. Okay. I accidentally hit my screensaver. Okay, here we go. So maybe this is what you synthetically in the market, like most other books. Like the best price that you could get on over 22.5 is maybe like 125, and the best price that you get on under 22.5 is that. I mean, you can't even get under 22.5 plus 120 anymore, right? So maybe you get something like that. Every other book has this at 22.5, but your book has over 23.5 and under 23.5. So it's like, well, I bet over 22.5 minus 135, and look, it moved in my favor to over 23. It moved 1 full point, and now it's a minus 110. But it didn't move. You didn't get closing. You didn't get any closing line value. Because you could bet over 22.5 at minus 125. Right? So in the market currently, there's literally a better line. There's literally a better line currently, even though on your book it moved up a point. So you can't just look at like, oh, what happens on DraftKings or what happens on BetMGM or what happens on whatever book you're using. That's the point of using multiple books. Even if you're not using the books, you still have to. That's how you view what the market looks like when computing what closing line value you've gotten on a bet. So yes, I mentioned offshore books. It's like even if you can't bet on them, is it a way to judge your bets against? Yes. Well, I only have an account on FanDuel, and then I also have an account on PointsBet. Why should I care about what the lines are on DraftKings? It's like, well, that's what the market. Like, if you're going to compute your closing line value, you need to. You can't just go by what your book is. That goes against the efficient market hypothesis. Why? Because you're only taking a very small slice of the market. What does the whole market look like? That's why when I showed you yesterday, like fightodds.io. When I see that, I use this for like odds. Best fight odds is another screen like that. It just shows you all the lines for all the fights updated in semi-real time. Right, a lot of these numbers, because I'll click through and you get all the prop numbers, right? Over 2.5, inside the distance lines, winning in the first round, this type of stuff. I plug this into my spreadsheet. Right, but you could take a look across the board. You could see here, it's like, okay, well, sports bet, what's going on there? I mean, look at this hold here, minus 357 plus 193. I mean, that's just absurd, right? But hey, like you can't either. I mean, it's the worst line on both sides, but like across the board, you can see here, it's like, oh, if you wanted to bet on Marvin Vettori, like, dude, you could find the best line, right? Minus 240 is right here. And if you wanted to bet on Roman Dolidze, the best line plus 235. Look how minimal this hold is, assuming you could bet at both books. Minus 240 here, plus 235 there. Right? You could even look at some of the prop bets. You will find arbitrage opportunities in props. You will find an under, you'll find an under 2.5 and a has to start like round 3 or something. You get to the point where you have a 2.5 minute window to winning 2 bets with positive EV. You could find them. You can find them. They exist. How much you can get down on them is a different story. But you could find them. This doesn't involve you having to know anything about the fighters. If I could bet one book, like look, literally, it's staring me in the face. Assuming you get money down, over 1.5 rounds, minus 335 at this sports book. Under 1.5 at this sports book is plus 350. Minus 335. You're laying 335. You're getting 350. Minus 335 plus 350. Minus 335 plus 350. Which means the hold is negative. Minus 335 plus 350. Right? 77.77%. Right? Not much, right? But if you could bet $100 on both sides, or somewhat close on both sides, and guarantee yourself like $3 profit. Like guarantee it. It's like guaranteed. Because you're going to win one of the 2 bets, and one pays more than the underdog pays more than what you would lay for the favorite. So that would be an arbitrage opportunity. I mean, it's literally right here. I mean, it's not much of one. Plus 350 minus 335, but like you could. This is what a lot of top-down approach sports bettors do. They don't have models. They're not originating anything. They're just going through and going, are there any bets where the market is a negative hold across the board synthetically? And then betting appropriately on each side so they capture what's right in the middle. Imagine how many look, I just showed you one. I mean, it's very small, 0.77%. On the Marvin Vettori, Roman Dolidze over 1.5 market. Look how many markets there are, even just in MMA. Right? And look, we got 15 fights. And then you also got like Bellator, and you got Cage Warriors. This is MMA. And then you got college basketball. And then you got Bulgarian ping pong. And you got the 3rd division soccer and wherever. I mean, like dude, this is what I'm talking about when I said about 3 days ago about adverse selection. The sports books can't manage their own lines to ultimate efficiency. They can't. They have too big of a menu. And some will manage it in a certain way, which may differ from other books, how they manage their adverse selection, which means you could bet in one place and bet in another place and synthetically get a plus EV opportunity, get a negative hold. I mean, you could just, I mean, like staring at odd screens like that. I mean, you have people set up stuff, they scrape odds and they set stuff up and, they program in Python or you could set it up in Excel and have color coding. Like I made a little thing last year for baseball props of it's much hard of scraping one sportsbook's lines and importing the bat projections and then just color anytime that one was like higher by a certain threshold than another, it would turn the thing green. It would turn the cell green. Right? So I could technically leave up Excel on one screen. If I see out the corner of my eye that's something that turned green, that means I should go be betting that. Right? Turns out it doesn't work that well because I have to reload it like too often. Like anytime the bat projections change, I would have to manually reload it. So it's not efficient, not the most efficient way of doing it, but that's the only way I knew how to do it. But when you see serious sports bettors, many of them, even if you're a bottom up bettor or top down bettor, like you still have to understand all of this. Even bottom up, even if you're originating your own numbers, you want to get the best numbers anywhere anyway. And even if you're judging your originating numbers, you're going to judge it by the market also. Right? I have the point, I have this team at minus, my model says that they should be a minus 157 favorite. Then when they close at minus 180, it's like, okay, I got closing line value. Okay, good. But what happens if it goes the other way? A lot of people goes, oh, well, then the market is wrong. It's like, are you sure? You can't say you can't say you're going to use the market as a judge, a heuristic judge for closing line value. And then when it goes against you, when the market moves against, not in your favor, say that the market is wrong. You can't, it's one or the other. Right? So some people, they don't care about the way the market moves. Then they're just like, my number is the number, and that's what I'm judging it against. And, you back test those numbers. You go, I think I'm better than the market. Okay. It's tough to do. And then there are people that are like, I don't originate nothing. I don't even know anything about most of these sports. But I could just stare at a screen like this, right? And I could just find the opportunities. I could just go and see, okay, where can I get over 1.5 rounds? What's the best? What's synthetically? What's the line here? Minus 150 is the best on this side. Plus 149 on the other side. I mean, it's still a plus 151. Oh, I got one. Right? It's barely. You're probably not going to put much money on this. Right? Minus 150 plus 151. I mean, what does that negative hole look like? Right? Minus 150 plus 151. You get $1 for every, 0.16%. Probably not going to tie much money in for that hole, for that negative. Right? You put $1,000 down for what? What, $1.06, $16? You'd have to put $1,000 aside if you could get $1,000 down, because these are MMA props. So you're not gonna be able to get 10 grand down. So you have to spend $1,000 aside just to lock in $16. Hey, but if you wanted to do that, you can, right? It's available to you. There you go. Right, $16, right? $1.60. Yeah, it should be $16. But that's what you're looking for, right? And then, of course, you'd also have to have accounts on both whatever these two books are. And then when one wins and the other wins, you're going to have to be able to balance your money in all the books. That's tough in and of itself. Not nearly as tough as it was 15 years ago. Now you transfer in and out. I mean, like so much easier. especially the legal books here, right? I mean, you just, it's nothing. It's legal. You can connect your bank account, deposit and withdraw pretty quickly. Back in the day, you had to use Western Union. You had to send, Net Teller. There was stuff like that. So the next thing you know, it's like, oh, I have money on like 12 different books, but like I need to make sure I have a couple of thousand on like each, because if I find the opportunity, sometimes it takes a day for them to issue, to confirm your deposit. So it's like, it's not the type of thing I can't have any money on a book. Then, oh my God, there's this great line there. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'd like to deposit $5,000. It's like, oh yeah, the money will be available to you tomorrow. It's like, tomorrow's too late. It's too late. So anytime I say that, like, beating the books, getting the lines, that's the easy part. That's 97% of the work is everything else. Getting the money in, getting the money out, getting the money down, not getting limited, right? Not getting kicked, right? Not sending up red flags. Don't middle yourself on the same book, right? That's a red flag. They'll flag you immediately for that. So it's like you bet on a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like, oh, the line moved here. I can arbitrage and middle something, but you that's the place that you made the first bet. So now that book looks at you and goes, dude, you're basically taking money from us, right? You could bet on the favorite there and bet on the favorite in this place. They don't know any better, but you do the same book. They'll look and go, well, this guy bet minus 175 on the favorite, and then 2 days later bet plus 190 on the underdog, and it's just like locked in like $170 or whatever it was. It's like we're paying them no matter what. Mathematically, it shouldn't matter to them, right? What accounts are giving them the liquidity? As if the plus 190 I'm taking, what's the difference of $1,000 from some Joe Schmo that didn't originally bet minus 175 the other way? It shouldn't matter to them mathematically. As far as flagging sharp accounts, that it does matter to them. So that's the game. That 97% is that. But understanding the basics, the past 3 days are the basics of sports betting. I don't need to know any of those things. No, this is the basic stuff. This stuff that's more advanced than this, mathematically. But this is how sports books operate. This is how sports betting markets operate. The bare base. How do you convert a money line into an implied probability? How do you take out the VIG? How do you calculate the hold of a market? Then how do you remove the hold from the money line odds and get true no VIG implied probabilities? How do you create synthetic hold? What's the synthetic hold of the entire market? We talked about that yesterday. Then how do you use both to now heuristically judge your bets based on what the close of the market is? And not just the close on your own book, but the close on the entire market. So you can compare your bet to the best number that you could get at close in the entire market when you take out the hold in the market. Now you can compare against that. And that is your XCLV. That's what you'd be comparing it. If you're consistently getting that in the positive, you should be making money betting sports consistently. You should be seeing a profit over time. Of course, just because you got closing line value doesn't mean you win the bet, right? Right. I'm getting 3-1 on a 2-1 occurrence. Yeah, well, the 2-1 occurrence, doesn't come in 66% of the time. Just that you're getting paid 3-1, which is profitable. So 2 out of 3 times you lose. But the third time that you win, you're getting paid 3 times as much as you should, right? So you end up making money. So when people you see on Twitter, you see the idiots. Closing line value doesn't matter. Winners matter. Like you're talking to someone that is not a profitable sports bettor. And if you're on Twitter talking to anyone, you're probably talking to not profitable sports bet by default. So anyone that you talk on Twitter about sports betting, I'd say that you have about a 90+% likelihood of talking to a profitable sports bet, of talking to an unprofitable sports bet. So if you got any questions about any of this type of stuff, you could always submit them anytime you want. Questions at theoryofdfs.com. Tomorrow we'll be going over the MMA slate from DFS perspective, strategy. There's the 15-fight card. Saturday at 1 o'clock, it's a pay-per-view. They're from England, right? That's why it's earlier. Going over some stuff. If you want the breakdowns of all the fights, that's part of our premium package here at RotoGrinders. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. And then after that, on Monday, we'll be starting our MLB primer leading up to the season. We got 2 weeks. 2 weeks till baseball. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs on your way out the door. And I will see you tomorrow. Answering your DFS strategy questions like I always do, Monday through Friday. 11 o'clock Eastern. On the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.